Hey everybody, welcome to EDEL 510. My name is Bill Selleck. He, him, I will be your instructor for the next 8 weeks. So, a little bit about me, a little bit about this course, and you're going to jump over to the week one course. So, my day job is I am Director of Technology at Hillbrook School. We're an independent K 12 school in Los Gatos and in San Jose, California. This is year 12 with them, perhaps year 13. I think year 12. And then been with Concordia University Irvine, I think for one last year, so 11 years as adjunct, and have taught nearly everything in our course program. So, three kids, they all go to Hillbrook with me. They're in grades 5, 7, and 8. Before I was tech director, I was teaching kindergarten, second grade, and fourth and fifth grade music. And that's enough about me. The course. So, servant leadership. What is that? What does it mean? What are we doing? How are we doing all of it? What are all the assignments? All the questions you have. Um, the thing I think is most important is to kind of breaking down what servant leadership means to you. This is such a cheesy thing to say, but it's true. Like, for the longest time, I heard that term and I was just like, really? That's what we're doing? And like would record the videos and be like, servant leadership is important. And then really figured out what it meant to me. So I'm going to share very briefly about what kind of how I interpret that and then how it shows up in my own educational leadership style. So my undergrad was in music, and for the longest time I was like, that feels a little weird. Like when I was doing music professionally, it made sense. When I was teaching kindergarten, like we played songs together. When I taught elementary music, that made sense, but like it felt like a stretch. And then when we moved into a leadership role at a school, being tech director, I was like, I'm not sure how this fits, but for me, it's actually influenced my stance on leadership. I think so much of how leadership in America, and particularly in education, is like the however kind of you know org chart you look at, whoever's kind of at the top and then people below you, typically it's like kind of district or like admin people, and then kind of site, principal or whatever it's going to be. And that person tends to be like, here's the thing you need to do, and then you do the thing, and then they let you know if you did the thing, and then they observe you and write you up, and you have to go to their meetings, right? Like that's kind of the style of leadership. I think if I were to, just like say like give me two sentences about what a leader looks like, right? Like I think like the image of like somebody in front of people talking and saying this is what you have to do, or like we're gonna working on accreditation, so I'm in charge of it, and you write this section and you write that section. I think that's traditional leadership, and so for me, the idea of looking at it from kind of a musician's lens, particularly when I ended up actually like getting the most gigs playing bass, and so like got my undergrad in guitar, classical guitar, played electric guitar, audio engineering, all that kind of stuff, and ended up playing bass mostly for professional gigs. Everyone always needed a bass player. So, what I have found, particularly around being a bass player, is that like you can play on your own and like it sounds cool and whatever. Um, but there's something very different and magical in the way that like once you have drums, bass, guitar, vocals, suddenly like you have a band. You can play a song. You can play like a concert in a way that like it's cool to hear a solo bass player, but like I can't think of a single like bass line people are just like walking around humming, being like, I love that song. It's nothing but bass guitars. Um, and so like the idea of like I need you to be a part of this thing with me, not just in a like we're working on accreditation and you have to write chapter one and you have to write chapter two because I can't write all the chapters together, but that like this will fundamentally be a different school and a different culture if you're not a part of it, in a similar way that like without guitars, drums, vocals, bass, you don't have the sound of a band. And there's this like greater than the sum of it parts thing. I said that wrong, but you know what I mean. Where like it becomes this magical thing. And so for me, the lever is less about uh, I'm in charge and you do this and you do that, that's not my leadership style. It's like, first of all, like, how can I bring a team together? How can we make something? And really, like, the gut check for me is how do I create an environment where you are necessary and without you, this does not work? And I think as you read about servant leadership, perhaps what you read about already kind of makes sense. You're like, cool, done, check. Perhaps you look at it and be like, oh, I'm not sure. And then you hear a little bit about kind of my take on it. And I'm not describing servant leadership, but like I can see myself through a lot of the descriptions of what servant leadership is through that, of like, I'm here to support teachers, to support colleagues. Um, and then when I'm in charge of a thing, we all need to be contributing in a way that is like fundamental to the task at hand. Um, so hopefully that's helpful. Like you're going to read through as you look at week one. I'll talk about that in the week one video a little bit about, kind of servant leadership 101. What you're going to be doing big picture in this course is looking at kind of the first half ish is like understanding what the practical and ethical frameworks of servant leadership are, about educational leadership, looking at character, skills, action, all those types of things. And then throughout the course, you're going to move from kind of understanding it to applying them. So you'll be doing like reflection, analysis, and coming up with your own personalized leadership plan at the end of the course. So very quick overview of the 5 assignments. And then each week you're going to have 1 or 2 discussion boards. As a reminder, initial post by Thursday before midnight, and then 2 thoughtful replies by Sunday at midnight, 11:59 p.m. You have that each week. And then the assignments, the first assignment is going to feel a little out of sorts. It's called Protecting Human Research Participants. If any of you are watching Stranger Things, you're like, oh, cool, we're going to do... No, we're not going to do that. And I promise not to have any spoilers. I have 4 episodes left myself, halfway through season 5. What it means is that what you used to have to do in 580, kind of the capstone class, was go through the IRB approval, the Institutional Records Board approval, and it was this massive thing you had to jump through. And so kind of by reclassifying your capstone project as like a classroom project, you don't need IRB approval, which is like a big thing for grad school and doctoral work. You're not going to do that, and the first step of that doesn't take place in 580 because that's way too much work. We've got a lot of feedback of like we need to like take what you're going to be doing in 580 way down the road for capstone and like sprinkle in little bits of what that is. And so that's the main reason this fits in here. You'll also see some kind of loose connections with servant leadership. That's the first assignment and why that's there. The second one is called the Servant Leader Characteristics Analysis. This is where you're going to create like a poster, likely not physical, like a virtual poster, hop on Canva or Google Slides or whatever, looking at servant leadership characteristics. More about that later when we get to that. Third assignment is an interview. This is the signature assignment. It's a 5 to 7 page paper, APA paper, interviewing a respected servant leader. Respected servant leader. That's a mouthful. Your fourth assignment is the servant leader skills analysis. This is where you will record a 10-minute presentation analyzing 2 servant leadership skills, 10-minute video, right? And then finally, your fifth assignment is the personal leadership plan. This is where you will give us a comprehensive plan outlining all the things, right? Like mission, vision, core values, connecting SMART goals, kind of synthesizing everything you've learned and looking at what your own leadership plan is. So those are all the assignments over the next 8 weeks. Discussion boards, at least 1 per week, sometimes often, sometimes 2 per week. Get those in by Thursday and then Sunday. If you have any questions, reach out. Otherwise, welcome to EDEL 510.